think it really varies. I would say that some built environment sectors, some industry sectors are really keyed in. We work really well with the lighting sector, lighting engineers. The Institution of Lighting Professionals is a body that I work really closely with. Pest controllers are very switched on in terms of knowing what they can and can't do in terms of the legislation with bats, because all of our 18 species are fully protected under domestic and international legislation. So although I am focusing on bats and protecting them, I'm also trying to protect people in industry from committing offences. And, we want to get to a scenario where the legislation wouldn't be needed because the bats, aren't being harmed, and everybody's doing their job properly. But we have to have some structure for those areas where maybe the understanding isn't as good. I would say that certainly in recent years, people are much more clued in about bats, needing to be aware of them, knowing they're protected. But I still think there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think probably the biggest one, and the one that makes everybody really nervous, is that if you've got bats roosting in your building, you can't do anything with the building. And so people almost don't go looking for them because they're afraid to find them, because they're afraid that it'll stop them doing what they're doing. And in fact, it's completely the other way around. If you know that there are bats in the building, you are just thinking about, how do I plan my work around them? How do I consult specialists who can support us to do this work? How can I make sure I'm within the legislation? So I always say to people, it's about due diligence. If you're thinking about planning any project, you think about, say, especially for the big developers, contaminated land, where are your services on site, asbestos, and think about ecology. And once you know what you've got and you've done your surveys and you know where the bats are, in your buildings, there's a huge wealth of experience out there that can help you through your project. It's just if they're not considered at the start. And I think that is probably what gives a bit of a bad reputation to bats in the built environment, unfortunately.